The first time I saw her was at the school's open house. I'd been running late, juggling my real estate business and Sarah's after-school activities when I walked into room 204. And there she was, older, with shorter hair, but unmistakably the same woman from my husband's wedding photos. Catherine Miller, now Miss Andrews, according to the cheerful nameplate on her desk. She froze mid-sentence when our eyes met, but recovered quickly. You must be Mrs. Parker. Sarah talks about you constantly. Ms. Andrews, I managed to reply, my heart pounding. Lovely to meet you. We performed an elaborate dance of pretense throughout the evening, discussing Sarah's progress as if we were strangers. As if I hadn't spent hours studying her face in the photos David couldn't bring himself to take down. Your daughter is incredibly gifted, she said professionally, especially in creative writing. Your husband's daughter, I wanted to say, but I just smiled and nodded. Later that night, I watched David help Sarah with her homework. How's the new teacher? He asked casually. She's nice, Sarah beamed. She tells the best stories about living in Europe. David didn't flinch. If he recognized his ex-wife's name on the school forms, he hadn't mentioned it. I waited until they were both asleep before pulling out the file I'd been building. Catherine had disappeared 3 months after their divorce, leaving behind a successful art gallery and a devastated husband. David claimed he had no idea where she'd gone. She needed a fresh start, he told me when we first started dating. The divorce was hard on her. But now she was back, teaching elementary school under a different name. Teaching our daughter. The next morning, I called in a favor from my college roommate, now a private investigator. I need everything on Catherine Miller from the last 7 years, I said, and her current alias, Claire Andrews. This about your husband's ex? Just find what you can. While I waited for answers, I observed. Catherine, Ms. Andrews, was an excellent teacher. Sarah came home bubbling with excitement about art projects and creative writing assignments. Ms. Andrews lived in Paris, Sarah announced at dinner. She taught at an international school. David dropped his fork, the first crack in his composure. I started digging deeper. The international school connection led me to Switzerland, then Italy. Catherine had indeed been teaching, moving every few years. But it was a photo from her time in Geneva that made my hands shake. A little girl, about 7 years old, with David's eyes and Catherine's smile. The PI's report confirmed it. Catherine had left because she was pregnant. David's daughter, Sophia, was born in Switzerland. The timing matched their last vacation together, 3 months before the divorce. Did he know? Was this why Catherine really left? I found myself studying Sarah's class photos, noting how Catherine watched her. Was there resentment in her eyes? Regret? Did she see David in Sarah's mannerisms the way I saw him in that photo of Sophia? During the next parent-teacher conference, I stayed late. We should talk, I said quietly. Catherine closed the classroom door. About? Sophia. She paled but didn't deny it. How did you find out? Does David know? No, she sank into her chair, and he can't find out. Please. Why come back? Why teach Sarah? I didn't know she would be in my class. The school assigned students after I was hired. She twisted her hands. I tried to get reassigned, but it would have raised questions. Why come back at all? Sophia started asking about her father. Catherine's voice cracked. I thought, I could see what kind of man he became, what kind of father he is. By watching him with my daughter, I'm not here to cause trouble. She pulled out her phone and showed me a picture of a smiling girl with David's dimples. Sophie is happy. We're happy. I just needed to know. Know what? If I made the right choice. Leaving. She met my eyes. He was different back then. Angry, controlling. When I got pregnant, he's changed, I said automatically, but remembered the way David still monitored my calls, my schedule. Has he? She smiled sadly. Watch how he reacts to unexpected changes in plans, to things he can't control. I thought about his reaction when I took an unplanned business trip last month. The dozens of calls. The subtle accusations. Why are you telling me this? Because you seem like a good mother. And because, she hesitated. Sophia wants to meet him. I need to know if it's safe. You can't drop this bomb on our family. I don't plan to. But I needed to understand what she'd be walking into if, she shrugged, if someday she finds him herself. I looked at Sarah's drawings on the wall, thought of another little girl with David's smile. Does she know about him? Only that he wasn't ready to be a father. It was easier than the truth. Which is that I was afraid to tell him. Afraid of how he'd react. Afraid he'd. She stopped. It doesn't matter now. But it did matter. Because now I had to decide, tell David about the daughter he never knew, or keep Catherine's secret. Watch her teach our child while hiding one of her own. I need time, I said finally. I understand. She handed me a card. When you decide, call me. Sarah's a wonderful girl. You've done an amazing job with her. I stared at the card. How do you do it? Teach her knowing. I pretend she's just another student. Most days it works. She smiled sadly. Some days I see him in her laugh, and it all comes back. As I drove home, I thought about family secrets, about choices made in fear, about the man I married and the man Catherine fled. David was helping Sarah with homework when I walked in. How was the conference? Fine, I said, watching him carefully. Ms. Andrews thinks Sarah might need more challenges. We could hire a tutor, he said immediately, needing to take control. I thought of Catherine's words about unexpected changes, about the anger beneath his helpful smile. Actually, I said carefully, Ms. Andrews offered to work with her after school. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I'm not comfortable with that. Why not? He struggled to find a reasonable objection. We don't know anything about her. But we did. Or at least he did. And somewhere in Switzerland, a little girl with his eyes was asking about her father. I put Catherine's card in my desk drawer, next to the photo of Sophia. Tomorrow, I would have to decide, protect his secrets or protect our daughters. Over the next few weeks, I watched David and Catherine's careful dance around each other at school functions. He never showed any sign of recognizing her, but I noticed how he stiffened whenever Sarah mentioned her teacher's name. One evening, Sarah brought home a family tree project. Ms. Andrews says we should include interesting family stories, she announced. Dad, can you tell me about when you were young? David's smile tightened. Nothing interesting to tell, sweetheart. Focus on Mom's side. Later that night, I found him in his study, burning old photographs. Spring cleaning? I asked casually. Just clearing out clutter, but I glimpsed Catherine's face in one of the burning images. The next day, I stayed after school again. He's destroying evidence of you, I told Catherine. He knows. She paled. I should resign. Tell me the real reason you left. She sat heavily at her desk. I found his journals. Pages and pages about controlling me, monitoring me. When I discovered I was pregnant, she twisted her hands. I saw what he wrote about children, how they should be shaped, molded. I couldn't let him do that to my baby. And now? Sophia is artistic, free-spirited. Everything he tried to suppress in me. She deserves to stay that way. I thought about how David micromanaged Sarah's schedule, her friends, her activities. Sarah's art class is her favorite, I said slowly. He keeps trying to replace it with extra math tutoring. History repeats. Catherine pulled out a worn notebook. I kept evidence back then, just in case. Here. The journal entries made my blood run cold. Detailed plans for controlling every aspect of this future children's lives. Pages about Catherine's defiance in pursuing art. Does Sarah ever mention feeling trapped? She asked carefully. I remembered Sarah's tears last week when David canceled her art club membership. She's starting to. I'm not here to interfere, Catherine said, but watching him with her, it's like seeing my past repeat itself. Why teach? Why not just observe from a distance? Because I couldn't. Her eyes filled with tears. Seeing Sarah struggle with the same pressures, I thought maybe I could give her what I never had, someone who understands. My phone buzzed. David checking why I was late. He tracks your phone, doesn't he? Catherine asked quietly. I nodded. He tracked my car, my calls, my friends. It starts small. That night, I watched David help Sarah with homework, noticing things I'd overlooked. How he erased her answers to redo them the right way. How she looked to him for permission before speaking. Dad, Sarah asked hesitantly, can I join the school art show? Focus on your math competition, he said firmly. Art is just a hobby. I saw Catherine's words play out in real time. The next day, I made a decision. During Sarah's art class, I met Catherine at a cafe off campus. Tell me about Sophia, I said. Her face lit up as she pulled out photos. She's in advanced art classes, writes poetry. She's everything I hoped she'd be, growing up without. She trailed off. Without control, I finished. Yes, she studied me. You're seeing it now, aren't you? The patterns. Sarah's getting worse grades in his important subjects. Having anxiety attacks before his weekly tests. She's 10 and she's drowning. Like I was. Catherine touched a photo of Sophia painting. Like she never had to be. What do you want, Catherine? I want Sophia to know her sister. I want Sarah to know there's another way to live. I'm not trying to destroy your marriage, but we need to protect our daughters. She nodded. Does Sophia ask about him? Sometimes. I told her he wasn't ready for children. Better than saying he would have tried to change everything about her. I made my second decision of the day. Help me help Sarah. Not just in class, but really help her. How? Be the teacher who shows her another path, like you're doing for Sophia. He'll notice. Let him. I straightened my shoulders. Maybe it's time someone challenged his control. That evening, Sarah showed me her latest art project, a vibrant, chaotic painting nothing like her usual careful work. Ms. Andrews said it's okay to make mistakes in art, she said, watching my reaction nervously. That sometimes mistakes make the best creations. David would hate it. It was perfect. It's beautiful, I said. How about we hang it in your room? Her smile was worth everything that would come next. Later, I found David adding more enrichment activities to Sarah's schedule. I'm signing her up for coding classes, he announced. 3 evenings a week. No, I said simply. He looked up startled. Excuse me? She's keeping her art classes, and the painting stays. She needs structure, guidance. She needs freedom to be herself. His face darkened, the look Catherine must have seen 7 years ago. I'm her father. I know what's best. Like you knew what was best for Catherine's baby. The words hung between us. His face went white. How long have you known? He whispered. Long enough to understand why she left. I met his eyes. Long enough to know I won't let Sarah's spirit be crushed the same way. He reached for his phone, probably to check my call history, track my movements. Sarah wants to join the art show, I continued. She's entering that painting you hate. And she's going to flourish, David, with or without your approval. You've been talking to Catherine. Not a question. No, I said calmly. I've been talking to Ms. Andrews, Sarah's talented art teacher, and I've been watching our daughter come alive in her class. The control in his face cracked, showing the fury beneath. We'll discuss this later, he said tightly. But we wouldn't. Because tomorrow, Sarah would meet her art teacher for special after-school lessons, and someday when the time was right, she'd meet her sister too. I closed the door to his study, leaving him with his schedules and controls. In my purse, Catherine's journal held the truth he couldn't erase. Sometimes protecting your children means breaking the chains before they're formed. The art show became our turning point. Sarah's painting hung proudly among dozens of others, her name written boldly beneath it. Catherine had helped her develop her own style, free from David's influence. I watched him stare at the painting, his jaw clenched. But it was the signature that caught his attention. Sarah had signed it with a flourish identical to Sophia's in a photo Catherine had shown me. Genetics are fascinating, I said quietly beside him. How children inherit little things, even from parents they've never met. His hands trembled. Where is she? Teaching your daughters that they don't need your approval to shine. The art room was full of proud parents, but David's eyes fixed on Catherine as she knelt beside Sarah, discussing another student's work. Their heads bent together. The resemblance to Sophia's photo struck me again. She's thriving, I told him. Both of them are. Both? Sophia paints too, writes poetry, everything you tried to suppress in Catherine. He started forward, but I caught his arm. Make a scene here, and everyone will know. About Catherine. About Sophia. About why your first wife really left. You're my wife, he hissed. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm on Sarah's side. And right now, she needs her teacher more than she needs your control. Catherine had noticed us. She squeezed Sarah's shoulder and walked over. Your daughter has remarkable talent, she said professionally. Don't, David's voice shook. Sarah, Catherine called softly. Would you show your father your other pieces? Sarah bounded over, pulling out her portfolio, each piece more creative and free than the last. Ms. Andrews says art doesn't have to be perfect, she explained excitedly. It just has to be true. David stared at our daughter's glowing face, then at Catherine. You had no right, he whispered, to teach, or to protect. Catherine met his gaze. Sarah deserves what Sophia has, freedom to become herself. The name hit him like a physical blow. Dad? Sarah asked, sensing tension. Don't you like them? Something broke in his expression as he looked at Sarah's uncertain face, so similar to the anxiety in her sister's baby photos. They're very creative, he managed. Really? Sarah beamed. Can I put them up in my room? Before he could answer, another student called for Ms. Andrews. Catherine gave me a slight nod before walking away. She's happy, David, I said softly. When was the last time you saw her this happy? He watched Catherine move through the room, encouraging each child, celebrating their unique perspectives. She's good with them, he admitted reluctantly. Yes, she is, with all of them. Later that night, after Sarah was asleep, he found me in the kitchen. Show me, he said simply. I took out the photo of Sophia that Catherine had given me. He sank into a chair, tracing his daughter's face. She has your smile, I said gently. Why didn't she tell me? You know why. I placed Catherine's old journal beside the photo. But you can choose differently now. For Sarah, for Sophia, if she ever wants to know you. And if I don't change, then you'll lose them both. Some already have. He stared at the journal for a long time. The art show, he said finally. Sarah can enter. It was a small step, but a start. The next day, I met Catherine in her classroom. He knows, I told her, about everything. And he's trying. For Sarah's sake, at least. She nodded, pulling out a new photo. Sophia asked about him again. Not now, but someday maybe. Someday, I agreed. When he's earned it. We watched through the window as Sarah played at recess, laughing freely. Thank you, I said, for coming back. For teaching her there's another way. Thank you for letting me, she smiled sadly. Sometimes the best lessons come from our biggest fears. That evening, I found David adding something new to Sarah's schedule. Art classes at the community center. Ms. Andrews recommended them, he said quietly. Outside, Sarah was painting in the garden, her strokes bold and unrestrained. In Switzerland, her sister was probably doing the same. Sometimes healing comes in small brushstrokes and lessons learned through children's eyes.